Smells like my sourdough bread. No, that is not good. That was too much yeast. Join us on our experimental root beer recipe journey. A few years ago in the summertime, we had the hankering for some fresh home brewed root beer, and we took the entire summer to get the recipe just right. Follow along so we can show you exactly what we found and discovered to be the perfect root beer recipe. Okay, so these bottles of root beer that we've been experimenting with summer long, we've been making just different recipes to try to get the flavor right, the amount of fizz right, the stability in the refrigerator correct. These two bottles are done fermenting, have been in the refrigerator now for a while. I'm hoping that they don't spray all over the kitchen because the last few bottles have been really fizzy. So here goes nothing to open these root beer bottles. You can see that the fizz comes real fast. Hey everyone, it's Emily with Hearty Soul. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for joining me in the kitchen today. I am working on brewing up some homemade root beer. I can't wait to share this recipe with you. It's way easier than you might think, and it's going to be super tasty. So it's very basic. We're using root beer flavoring, active dry yeast, some sugar, and water. So what I'm starting with is 1 cup of water, and my water is warm, so it's gonna dissolve that yeast. I like to use the half-gallon jugs. These are glass jugs. I will link where I got them in the show notes below. But I like the half gallons versus the 1 gallon because 1 gallon gets really heavy and kind of hard to store in a refrigerator. So today I'm making 1.5 gallons of this root beer. This recipe is intended for 1 gallon. So you can just envision this being 1 gallon jug here. So we've got our yeast nice and dissolved. I don't see any granules here. So I'm gonna go ahead and split this 1 cup into 2 bottles. So I'm gonna pour half a cup in this jug and half a cup in this one. The next thing we're gonna do is add 3/4 cup of sugar to each jar. I'm using my 1 cup measure 3/4 of the way full. I'm just gonna use this scooper to get it in my bottle. So 3/4 cup in each half-gallon jug, or 1.5 cup if you're making the entire gallon. Now my yeast is still kind of warm in here, and that will help dissolve the sugar around. Sometimes when you get down to the bottom of these root beer jugs, you'll find some of the yeast, the sediment from the yeast on the bottom of the jugs. That's actually my favorite part. Then I have root beer flavoring, root beer extract, however you like to use it. It's very thick. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons to each half gallon. Root beer extract does like to stain, so if you have a wood surface, be really careful because it's very dark and it will stain. Then this is just my tip. This is just the way we like it. I like to add 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla to each half gallon jug. And we're just stirring the warm water and helping that sugar to dissolve. So this is the concentrate. You can just see it's a tiny amount on the bottom. The next thing we're gonna do is fill each one of these jugs up with good filtered drinking water. So I don't want to fill these all the way up to the top. As you can see, I've left a little bit of room because when we open it up, when it's done fermenting after a few days, it's gonna fizz. So we want to leave a little bit of headspace. We're gonna put the caps on these, and we're gonna find a nice shady spot out in the yard away from the dog to keep these in the shade yet in the heat. I have the perfect spot, and because it's middle of July right now, it's the perfect time to be able to make this home brewed root beer. Because for the optimal temperature for this fermentation to take place is between 70 and 80 degrees. When the temperature is like 70 to 80 degrees, they go within about 3 to 4 days. And when the bubbles kind of stop, that's when I know it's done fermenting. Ready to go, we'll stick them in the refrigerator and then enjoy. see that the fermentation process has stopped, the bubbling has stopped. So we're gonna stick these root beer jugs in the fridge. Okay, so we're super excited to try our root beer today. This is the third experiment. The first two were either too yeasty, it didn't have enough root beer extract. We needed to keep trying. So we've got some homemade ice cream, our cold mugs, and we're gonna give it a shot. This has got 3 teaspoons of vanilla, a 1/4 teaspoon of yeast, and a 3/4 cup of sugar in this half gallon. What do we remember when we open these up? Do we go fast or slow?
Slow.
Why?
Because it's gonna explode.
Okay, because we've opened these up outside usually because they get super fizzy. We've opened them up too fast, but today we'll go really slow. We'll test these two and then we'll decide which one goes into our ice cream. It's better than the last ones.
This
right?
one's. But I feel like it's.
Okay, this one is better. I think this one is better, honestly, because it has more sugar and a bit more root beer extract. My original recipe that I started with called for more yeast, and I lowered the levels of yeast so that it's not quite as fermented, but I'm sure it's probably the original way of how people made root beer. So we liked this one. Okay, I think also with ice cream it's gonna sweeten up too. It is pretty sweet. Okay, that's good. Let's add it to our
Ice cream.
Okay, you have to try it now. Well, me first?
Yeah.
Oh, it's very good. It's very good.
No, it's not. It's better with ice cream.
Yeah, I like it with ice cream to it. The ice cream adds a little bit of sweetness to it. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great summer.